Well, as you know, they have filed criminal charges against Christopher Schurr. And, as expected, nobody is satisfied. Charges aren't enough. They want him convicted, and they don't care if he's guilty or not. And frankly, I don't care either. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Now you may be thinking, oh my gosh, what's Johnny Walker Dread talking about? He doesn't care about Christopher Schurr's welfare? No, I don't. I really don't. Screw him. Now the fight really begins, NAACP says, after officer charged in Patrick Lyoya killing. It begins. It doesn't end. They cried and hollered for him to be charged. He's now going to go to trial, but that's not enough. It's never enough. Let's go ahead and read this. Local NAACP President Clea Jackson was shocked but pleased when Grand Rapids police officer Christopher Schurr was charged with second-degree murder in the killing of Patrick Lyoya on Thursday afternoon. Hey, he was pleased, but obviously he wasn't pleased enough, because you can never be pleased enough. You'll see why here in a moment. But now Jackson says the real fight begins. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and I'm probably going to get some sort of ban from YouTube for saying the word colored people, but it's not my fault. That's what they call the organization. Although it's kind of odd that nobody has demanded that they change the organization name like they did with the Washington Redskins. Whatever. Oops, I said Redskins. Doggone it. I'm probably going to get some strikes from YouTube for that one, but okay. NAACP leaders are calling for Schurr, 31, to be convicted of the murder charge that was issued by Kent County prosecutor Chris Becker. Gee, who saw that coming? Ray Charles could see that one coming, as Rick Gore would say. Having a fair trial where the evidence is presented and the jury gets to decide is not good enough. They want him convicted. They don't care if he's innocent or guilty. When are you going to figure that out? It was just like that with Kyle Rittenhouse. They didn't care whether he was acting in self-defense or not. They wanted him convicted anyway. Remember the evidence box. If they had a box that showed the true evidence of what really happened, they would go and bury it. They would never turn that into the police. And it's the same thing here. If there was footage showing that Christopher Schurr was actually in the right, they would just delete it. They're not going to turn it in because they want him convicted, because guess what? He's white. And that's all that matters to them. You'll see why here in a moment. The case now lies with the courts, and Jackson said he's hoping Schurr is found guilty of second-degree murder, a potential life sentence. A life sentence for a guy who was actually doing his best, but they don't care. It doesn't matter. They'd put him in front of the firing squad if they could, not because they think that was the appropriate punishment, because that would be the ultimate show of power. That's what they want to show. They want to show power. They want to show that they can push the system around. And Officer Schurr is going to be the pawn in this game, just like Kyle Rittenhouse. Jackson said he has some concerns over whether the courts will be able to seat a fair and unbiased jury in Kent County. Oh, his concern is about whether the court will be able to seat a fair and unbiased jury, because that's not what he wants. He wants a lynch mob. Who out there thinks I'm wrong? Who out there disagrees? Okay, you just keep thinking that. Now the fight really begins. We will be fighting in the court system to hopefully ensure that there is ultimately a conviction. What did I tell you? We hope that all involved in this next phase, oh, get this, will be unbiased, and ultimately Officer Christopher Schurr will be convicted for his heinous actions. So what if you found out that the jury had been contaminated by a bunch of people out to get Christopher Schurr? Do you think for a moment that he would complain about that? Jackson said the NAACP will be looking into whether the case can be moved somewhere outside of Kent County. We'll be looking into that in terms of, can we get this case moved to a different venue? I actually think it probably should be, but I also think there has been historical issues with a fair and representative jury of your peers. That's going to be very critical in this case. They want the venue moved because they're afraid that the jury might have some people sympathetic to the evidence. But I have news for the NAACP. This ain't going to happen. The defendant has rights. And one of those rights is to be tried by a jury of your peers. Now, a venue can be changed, but I would love to see the argument here for changing the venue. Your Honor, we need the venue changed because we're afraid that the defendant might get off. We're afraid that too many of the jurors in this community might be looking favorable to the defendant. We're afraid that they might look at the evidence and decide it's not guilty. We need to move the venue to a place where we can find more people willing to convict him. Yeah, how far is that argument going to carry you? And what other argument is there? Think about that for a moment. Dredge into the depths of your mind and try to come up with another reason why they should change the venue for this case. Well, there might be violence. Oh, I see. So let's set a precedent that if you create enough violence and protests and stuff, you can have a venue change to help convict somebody. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. In truth, they want the venue changed because they think there might be too many white people on the jury that might be willing to acquit the officer. Now, if the judge comes in and says, well, there's this big Republican district nearby, we can move it there, what do you think they'll say? Oh, well, no, we can't have that. Again, they only want a conviction. They don't care if he's guilty. This is a power move. It's designed to show the world how far they've come. Jackson is calling for protesters to remain peaceful in any demonstrations following Becker's decision, and they don't care. The more violent, the better, as long as it gets them what they want. They're not calling for peaceful demonstrations. Come on. So, are you wondering why I don't care whether Christopher Schurr goes to prison or not? Yeah, wait till my next video and I'll explain it for you. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.